everyone. We are Group 5, and today we will be overviewing a government health organization. We'll be taking a closer look at the National Institutes of Health, commonly known as the NIH. The NIH plays a critical role to uncovering the fundamental science behind health and disease, transforming discoveries into better treatments, and improving lives worldwide. It funds groundbreaking research, supports medical innovation, and promotes global collaboration among scientists. Next, we will take a brief look at its background. The NIH is part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and is the primary government agency responsible for biomedical and public health research. It was officially established in 1930, but it roots back to 1887. With its headquarters in Bethesda, Maryland, it has grown into an organization that distributes billions in grants annually to universities, hospitals, and research institutions. Now delving deeper into some of the institutes and centers, here we have a list of which the NIH is composed of the 27 institutes and centers, each dedicated to specific areas of research, ranging from genetics and infectious diseases to cancer and neuroscience. For example, we have the National Cancer Institute, which is the principal agency for cancer research in the U.S. It funds and conducts studies on cancer prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. It plays a crucial role in advancing cancer therapies, including immunotherapy and precision medicine. We also have the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, crucial in developing vaccines and treatments for diseases like HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and COVID-19. It also supports clinical trials and collaborates with global health organizations to combat emerging infectious threats. This cutting-edge research really shapes the future of medicine.
For this slide, we'll go over the revenue sources for the NIH. So the National Institutes of Health primarily receives funding from federal sources, with the majority coming from annual appropriations set by Congress. Each year, Congress determines the NIH's budgets through the Labor, Health and Human Services, and Education Appropriations Bill. Additionally, the NIH can receive extra funding from other federal agencies or through special emergency appropriations, such as during a pandemic. Although limited, the NIH also accepts private funding, including donations, royalties from patents, and collaborative research agreements with nonprofits and industry partners. Overall, strong federal support ensures NIH can continue driving medical innovation and scientific discovery. So, for this slide, we'll go over expenditures by state. This slide shows the NIH's funding distributed amongst the 11 states based on the number of projects and total dollars awarded. California leads significantly, receiving over $6 billion in funding alone across nearly 10,000 projects. States like Massachusetts and New York also rank very highly, driven by major research institutions, for example, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, and Columbia. Overall, these states dominate NIH funding due to their strong concentration of medical schools, hospitals, and research centers. For this slide, we'll go over the major contributions to science that the NIH has made. So the NIH has been instrumental in developing vaccines for diseases such as HPV, hepatitis, and COVID-19. It also leads the national dementia research through the National Institute of Aging, or NIA, advancing our understanding of Alzheimer's. In cancer research, the NIH has also supported breakthroughs that target therapies and personalized medicine. One of its most impactful efforts, however, was leading the Human Genome Project from 1990 to 2003, which mapped about 90% of the human genome. This laid the foundation for modern genetics and precision medicine.
The NIH is a cornerstone of medical innovation, offering numerous benefits but also facing challenges. On the positive side, it drives public health advancements such as vaccines and genetic therapies. It improves life expectancy, stimulates economic growth, and solidifies the U.S. as a global leader in science. It also provides educational opportunities and rapid responses to health crises like pandemics. However, there are also cons. Research is expensive and relies heavily on government budgets, making it vulnerable to funding cuts. Not all diseases receive equal attention, and ethical hurdles often slow progress. Bureaucracy can also hinder timely approvals, and there's tension between public research goals and private profit motives when treatments become costly. The NIH funds groundbreaking research that leads to life-saving advancements like MRI and vaccines. Its impact on public health is vast, ranging from cancer treatments, such as CAR T-cell therapy for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and breast cancer, to infectious disease control, including COVID-19 and HIV/AIDS. It also addresses mental health disorders like bipolar disorder and depression, and neurodevelopmental disorders such as ADHD and autism. Beyond research, the NIH enhances health literacy and informs public policies, aiming to improve health outcomes across the nation.
While the NIH funding is a nonpartisan or non-biased issue, with both the Republican and Democratic parties providing support, there are political influences that drive the NIH decision-making process. The president appoints and confirms the NIH director. The Office of Management and Budget has power to influence, but not set the NIH budgets. Oftentimes, the NIH may receive more funding than the president requests. Also, organizations such as the National Institutes of Health Appropriations Act, Department of Labor, Health and Human Services, Education Appropriations Act, and the Help Committee have the largest oversight and research priorities. The future of NIH is uncertain. The NIH may be significantly restructured by the Trump administration as it is currently attempting to revise policies, slash the $47 billion funding by about a half, terminate research grants, and reduce the agency's administration and scientists. The removal of grants to universities with DEI programs may hinder equitable access to clinical research and can negatively affect important works such as neuromuscular research and drug and developmental care. Also, policy and process changes are to take place, such as the civil rights terms and conditions, and key components of applications forms, such as the common forms for biographical sketch, which is like a CV that provides an overview of an individual's qualifications and experience. The last slide shows a graph of the institutes and centers that focus largely on the health of minority groups and infectious diseases that have had the most amount of grant cuts during the Trump administration. This issue, such as the grant cuts for the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities, is important because diseases like HIV and AIDS disproportionately affects sexual and gender minorities. Overall, the NIH conducts and supports biomedical and public health research, seeking fundamental knowledge to enhance health, lengthen life quality, and reduce illness. And that concludes our presentation about the National Institutes of Health, or the NIH. Our presentation is followed by a 4-question quiz with answers. Thank you all for your participation.